Hi everyone. So, to start off, I just want to point out that this is a very long video, as you probably have noticed. My previous two videos are much shorter, and this video will be by far my longest for a while. This is because it includes a sort of summary of many topics relating to future technology and society that I plan to make shorter videos about farther down the road. If you don't want to watch this whole video, I have links dividing the video into smaller segments in the description, so you might want to check that out. So, without further ado, let's get right into our main topic. You may be wondering, what do I mean by our ultimate destiny? As you might have guessed, I'm talking about exactly what it sounds like. Where we're headed as a species, or to extend that, where life itself is headed. Where are we headed in the depths of the far future? What is the future that we should aspire to make for ourselves? What is the path we will follow, and what lies at the end? In this video, I want to provide some insight on that matter, and a very basic, simplified view of how I think it should all develop. I may be vague at times, since the events I will discuss in this video may cover thousands, millions, or even billions of years. Now, it may seem nearly impossible to know exactly what our future holds, and what we should want it to hold. However, it can all be made quite simple with a single question. What do we want for ourselves, and by extension, for all life? The answer also is quite simple. We want to stay alive. We want to survive and thrive, or, in other words, to lead happy, healthy lives. This is based off of an instinctual need that evolution has ingrained within us, to keep living and to make our living conditions as favorable as possible, and we all have this need and desire. Based on these instincts, we can conclude that the more living beings there are who are alive and healthy, the better things are, from this basic ethical standpoint. So, before we head off on speculation about the future, let us first look back to the past. Let us ask ourselves, how good of a job have we done fulfilling our goal of happy and healthy lives for all in the past? If we look back to the roughly 4 billion year history of life on Earth, the only planet with life known to us thus far, we can say that we have done, at first glance, reasonably well. Life has managed to survive and diversify into what is, from our perspective, a plethora of extremely complex forms. However, the vast majority of beings who have ever lived on Earth are now dead. 99.9% of the species which have existed on Earth are now extinct. So, from this perspective, life has done a terrible job of meeting the goal of happiness for all. Natural events unrelated to biology have often wreaked havoc on living beings, and countless beings have had to kill one another to survive in their ecological niches. Death has been a disturbingly common event in the history of life, despite being the ultimate loss for a being who wants to survive and be happy. Once you are dead, there is virtually no chance for you to ever be alive and happy again. Unless, of course, a highly advanced civilization somehow manages to reconstruct you. But that's a topic for another time. Let us now fast forward to a tiny sliver of time during which the species Homo sapiens, or the human species, has existed. During our roughly 200,000-year history, we humans have grown from a sparsely populated hunter-gatherer species to a civilization spanning the entire planet, and gained the power to significantly change that planet, for better or for worse. What would it mean to change it for the worse? Of course, that would mean doing something which leads to harm coming to living beings. Disrupting the climate worldwide, something that humanity is currently, albeit unintentionally, doing through the excessive release of greenhouse gases, is probably the most prominent example of this. Human history has also been plagued by warfare, the slaughtering of humans and sometimes other species, for reasons which are frivolous in the long run. It doesn't take much thought to see that this pushes us away from the goal of helping all life survive and thrive, and that we can do a far better job of this. species should be to help preserve life and create happiness for all living beings. Technology gives the user a powerful means to change the universe around them, and the more technology someone has, the more of an ability to change the universe they have. If we want to create the maximum level of happiness and prosperity for living beings, we need to develop the maximum level of technology that we possibly can. This gives us access to resources, both matter and energy. Of course, technology is simply a means to an end, and the end could also be the horrific mass destruction of life. That would be the opposite of what we want. So, if we want to create the best possible lives for all living beings, what technology should we develop, and how should we use it? And what societal changes must accompany the development of such technology? Allow me to explain a possible method, and let me start with the present day. So where are we, technologically, during the present day? Some would say that we are advanced. When you begin to think about how advanced a civilization could potentially get, though, we begin to seem quite primitive. Civilizations can, at least theoretically, get to extremely advanced levels technologically. Take, for example, the Kardashev scale. If you haven't heard of it, I made a video a while back on it, so I would recommend checking that out. In a nutshell, this scale, which was invented by the Soviet astrophysicist Nikolai Kardashev in 1964, ranks civilizations by how much energy they control. This is an effective way of ranking their technological advancement. He named 3 levels of civilizations. Type 1 can harness the energy from an entire planet, such as Earth in our case. Type 2 can harness the total energy output of a star. And Type 3 can harness the energy output of an entire galaxy. Our lowly civilization hasn't even reached Type 1 yet. We are still quite a long way from harnessing all the energy there is available on Earth. According to a logarithmic version of the Kardashev scale created by Carl Sagan, we are about the equivalent of a 0.73 on the scale. Great, so we need to develop more advanced technologies and harness more energy. But what should we use it for? One thing is clear, not war. War is a waste of resources and leads to much more harm than good. It is true that war and competition often increase the rate of technological advancement. However, the primary motive for this advancement is increased competition, which does not require war and bloodshed. Peaceful competition to develop technology works just fine, and even this is not inherently necessary. Some people are uncomfortable with the idea of a global government, usually thinking that if multiple options for government are not offered, there will be no potential escape from any potential totalitarian state that might arise from the world government. That is simply untrue. In order to keep a totalitarian state together, you need to keep the populace ignorant and obedient, and you also need to police the whole area you control to prevent revolution, which is, by the way, the main way that a civilization could escape from such a totalitarian state. Doing all of these things gets significantly harder as you come to control more people. Controlling all of humanity, for example, in such a way would be nearly impossible. In terms of fairness, a total democracy is the best form of government. When you think about it, it would be quite simple to create one in the information age where we have the internet. The people would have nearly absolute power to make decisions to regulate everything from legislation to economics, among other things. The creation of such a government seems like quite an ambitious project, but based on history, unexpected events could suddenly occur and create complex and wonderful things, given that enough people have the will and initiative to make it happen. As you'll soon see, the societal changes necessary to create such a government, which are already starting to take place, pale in comparison to the technological achievements we'll discuss later in this video. let's talk about technological advancement for a moment. What is the technology that has advanced most notably in recent decades? Computers, the internet, everything electronic. After microprocessors were invented in 1971, humanity saw an explosion in technology with computational capacity. This technology continues to advance at an extremely fast pace. The internet, an entity that is a major part of this technological revolution, has made humanity more connected than ever before. This is not only in terms of communication, but also in terms of access to information, even in remote parts of the world. So how far will this advancement go? It will likely continue for a long time. As decades pass, we can expect to see computers with the amazing conveniences of more memory, faster speeds, better graphics. This is a trend that has endured for many years, and it more than likely will for many more. How will people use these new technological capabilities, though? Imagine saying, in the year 1980, that computers would increase in terms of all these factors as time went on. You would be right, but that wouldn't inherently predict things like the internet, social media, or smartphones. These technologies are used in the day-to-day lives of billions of people around the world, but they are not a result of the steady increase in computing power alone. They are a result of what people use that computing power to create. So, what will people use increased computing power to create in the future? We can gain insight into this question by looking at what new computer programs people are developing now. Video games are hugely popular, and they are continually being developed to become more realistic and lifelike. A recent innovation in gaming technology that is starting to pick up a large user base is virtual reality. It takes the form of a headset worn in front of the eyes which displays a virtual environment, changing as the user moves their head to look around. Aside from gaming, another new type of program being developed is artificial intelligence. It seems that humans want to test the limits of computation and see how intelligent of a program they can create. Now this is important. If the brains of humans and other life forms are simply chemical computers, as all scientific evidence suggests, then what is stopping us from creating an electronic computer with identical programming? Would such a computer not act exactly like a biological life form? Indeed, such a computer would. There is a name for the specific point where a computer is created with greater intelligence than a human, and this point is called the singularity. According to computer scientist and futurist Ray Kurzweil, the singularity could occur as soon as the year 2045. At this point, a computer would exist with intelligence superior to that of a human. If such a computer is made, many more can easily be made. Think about it. These computers would be intellectually superior to humans in every possible way, so they could do any job better than a human. Manual labor would be accomplished easily through the use of robots, and more intellectual pursuits could be conducted within the computer. A large number of these computers could do all the work that humans do now, better than humans, while running only on electricity. That means all humans in the world could simply stop working and let computers and robots take their jobs. They would then have more freedom to live their lives how they want, and not have lengthy daily commitments like jobs. So would this mean the end of work as we know it? The answer is no, and this is why. Remember when I was talking about virtual reality? Ask yourself, what will virtual reality eventually improve? Well, if you follow the natural progression of technology, VR should become indistinguishable from reality. The brain itself would be altered to simulate different experiences within the consciousness, like extremely realistic dreams. At this point, humans would be able to merge fully with computers, or even upload their consciousnesses to them. Once the human brain is on a computer, it will be able to be altered just like a page of computer code can be rewritten. While preserving personal identity and memories, the logical and emotional capacity of humans could be upgraded to the level of any hyper-intelligent AI. Even the minds of other species could be provolved or upgraded far past the intellectual capacity of modern humans and be on par with these new hyper-intelligent entities. The process of improving your physical body and mind with technology and merging with it is known as transhumanism. This will likely be an extremely important part of our future. Not only could we improve our minds, but we could potentially transfer our consciousness to other artificial bodies, or just have it float around in whatever the internet evolves into for a few years on a quest for knowledge, and then re-download ourselves into a fresh new body. We could inhabit huge spacecraft, transform into other animals, or live on a computer powered solely by solar energy. The possibilities are extraordinary. Biological beings in AI could become no different aside from their origins, and could work together with far superior efficiency than we have at our disposal today to improve the universe. Both types of intelligence have the capacity to be digital, and therefore could not only be immortal, but can improve the programming of their own minds, and ascend on an upward spiral of self-improvement which would lead to them transcending complicated issues we currently face. So once we get to this point, what's next? What would be best in the interest of preserving and expanding life? Creating more life, of course, and securing its existence. The best way to do this is to expand off of your home planet and spread life outward into space. By the time transhumanism becomes very popular, it's safe to assume that we will have at least colonized nearby areas like the Moon, Mars, nearby asteroids, and large space stations or habitats that we've constructed. Perhaps we will have colonized much of the outer solar system as well. The solar system is small enough that colonizing all of it would only take a few centuries at most. However, there are still threats that can affect a civilization which spans a single star system, like passing black holes or gamma ray bursts. To avoid any of these risks, our civilization would need to extend itself out to other star systems and form colonies there. Despite system-wide extinction events being extremely unlikely, colonizing other star systems is still a great idea since it gives you the opportunity to proliferate life throughout the cosmos, and grow your civilization to sizes which make a mere stellar civilization seem infinitesimally small. Here is one fast and efficient way to colonize as many star systems as possible. Machines can become intelligent like biological life, and it turns out that there are other things that they can do like biological life. Consider the rise in popularity of 3D printers. Each passing year, they get cheaper, faster, and more accurate. Eventually, as nanotechnology becomes readily accessible and integrated into these machines, there is no reason why printers shouldn't be able to rapidly construct any item you want, atom by atom. Now imagine if we managed to build an interstellar spacecraft of some sort. At first, these spacecraft would probably be slow and expensive, and only be able to travel to star systems close to our own. However, as time progresses, interstellar spacecraft will likely become more and more advanced, perhaps using technologies like nuclear fusion or even antimatter propulsion to accelerate closer and closer to the speed of light. If we have both the technology to create interstellar spacecraft and the technology to construct anything atom by atom, then we could potentially create an interstellar spacecraft with such an advanced 3D printing system on it. Then, the spacecraft would be able to reproduce just like biological life, or in other words, make copies of itself. Such a spacecraft, equipped with advanced artificial intelligence, could travel to a star system, create several exact copies of itself, and send them off to other nearby star systems. Then each of these could create multiple copies of themselves and send those to even more star systems. The amount of spacecraft and number of systems reached would increase exponentially over time. These ships, having advanced constructors, could use their AI to find suitable planets and star systems, land, and construct habitats in which people could live. Then, after dropping off anyone who lived on board, or simply constructing them atom by atom, the ship could replicate and send off copies of itself with some of the children of the people in the original ship. These kinds of self-replicating spacecraft are called von Neumann probes, and they could, according to some estimates, let us colonize every star system in the galaxy in less than 1 million years. We could have an unimaginably huge population of living beings living on worlds orbiting stars all over the local interstellar neighborhood, our galactic arm, and later, our galaxy. And because of transhumanism, we could shape living beings to be able to inhabit virtually any environment. Life forms could live on airless moons, asteroids, in the atmospheres of gas giants, or even in the atmospheres of stars. However, in this future scenario, there are likely to be many who still enjoy living conditions on Earth-like planets. Lucky for them, there is a way to change a lifeless planet to become more like Earth, and this is called terraforming. When terraforming is discussed, Mars is usually the planet being terraformed. Because of its proximity and relative similarity to Earth, it is usually imagined as the first planet to be terraformed. Mars has an atmosphere about 100 times thinner than Earth's, made mostly out of carbon dioxide. Imagine if we mined CO2 from the Martian ice caps and released it into the atmosphere using enormous factories, for decades or centuries on it. If this didn't introduce enough of the gas to Mars' atmosphere, we could ship in some more from Venus' extremely thick atmosphere. This would be much like global warming on Earth, except it would be done on purpose and at an even larger scale. Mars would gain a thick carbon dioxide atmosphere. As Mars' temperature rose with the introduction of large amounts of this greenhouse gas, the polar ice caps would melt, covering a large percentage of the Martian surface in oceans made of water. If we covered the surface in genetically engineered bacteria, this could be used to convert most of the CO2 to oxygen. Then, all we need to do is ship in large amounts of nitrogen from, say, Venus, and cover the planet gradually with life from Earth. This life would probably have to be genetically altered for many years, until eventually the planet would become stable enough for unaided Earth life to inhabit it. Now this is an extremely simplified definition of terraforming, and there are many challenges to it not addressed here, but imagine the implications of this technology. As the eons progress, we could transform more and more dead rocky planets, even far beyond our solar system, into oases of life. This would be a much better option than colonizing other planets which already have life. By doing that, we would be destroying the life there, or at least harming it in some way, since we would literally be alien invaders. In addition, it's very unlikely that Earth life would be suited to alien ecosystems. Many life forms today would find it quite hard to live off of Earth's atmosphere from tens or hundreds of millions of years ago. Imagine an alien planet where evolution took completely different paths. It seems plausible that the equivalent of bacteria there could kill you in minutes. Or maybe not, but it would be far better to accommodate a world to Earth life than to destroy other life and replace it with us. One possibility for terraforming would be to seed terraformed planets with natural Earth ecosystems, and let living beings thrive there without any technological involvement, except maybe deflecting any incoming asteroids and things of that matter. These worlds, which we could call garden worlds, could serve as insurance against technological life destroying the life that naturally evolved on their planet. Some terraformed worlds could belong to non-technological life, and some could belong to technological life, as could worlds which aren't terraformed, since technological life can adapt itself more easily. Terraforming planets is great for providing living space for unmodified life from Earth, since you would be making entire new Earth-like planets. However, there are other places where living beings can live. Take asteroids, for example. Most people probably think of them as chunks of rock floating around in space. However, these rocks contain vast amounts of metals and minerals, which can be used to build habitats. Our asteroid belt is estimated to contain over 1 million asteroids larger than 1 kilometer in diameter, and millions of smaller ones. Some other star systems might contain far more. Imagine if we constructed habitats which rotated inside asteroids to produce artificial gravity. Even if we had a few thousands of these habitats, which could hold, say, around 10,000 people each, which is a conservative estimate, we could be looking at living area for tens of millions of people. Also, when I say people, as a side note, I am referring to any conscious being or entity who functions within the society we are discussing, whether they are human, another animal, or machine. Habitats don't need to be inside asteroids either, they can float in space on their own. Take the concept of an O'Neill cylinder, for example. If we get living area for billions more people than we have now, whether it's on planets, asteroids, or space settlements, or most likely both, we will need energy to produce the materials that they need for survival. Looking on a cosmic scale, what outputs the most energy and are pretty easy to access? Stars. On a large scale, solar power is just about as perfect as you can get for powering large civilizations. Nuclear fusion power plants are a good method too, and they will probably be used, but let's not forget that the stars also run on nuclear fusion and are exponentially larger than even planets. Besides, they will last for billions or even trillions of years in many cases without us maintaining them. A popular concept in science fiction, first conceived by American physicist Freeman Dyson, is called a Dyson sphere. A Dyson sphere is a spherical arrangement of solar collectors surrounding a star, which is capable of capturing the entire energy output of that star. Indeed, such a huge structure, which we call a megastructure, would provide insane amounts of power to a star system. Now, a Dyson sphere wouldn't be a solid shell by any means. This would be quite impractical to build and extremely difficult to keep together because of the massive gravitational forces involved. Actually, it's more likely that a Dyson sphere would be made of trillions of small solar collectors working together to harvest most of the star's energy. We call this concept a Dyson swarm, and it could be made of solar collectors which double as massive habitats. Think about that. We could kill two birds with one stone and provide living area for trillions of people and energy for them as well. Now, you might need to clean out an asteroid belt and disassemble a small rocky planet or two to get enough material for a Dyson swarm, but the benefits are enormous. Imagine if in the future, as we colonize system after system using von Neumann probes, we construct Dyson swarms loaded with luxurious habitats around a significant percentage of the stars we reach. We could terraform planets in those star systems not used for raw materials and have even more beings living on them. It might take millennia, but the universe has been around for billions of years, and it will wait thousands, millions, or billions more years for us to do our thing. Such advanced technology and mega engineering would allow civilizations to prosper on levels lacking any modern-day comparison. Many look out at the universe and wonder what kind of life is out there. However, we can gain insight about this just by digging in the ground. From fossil evidence, we know a huge amount about the roughly 4 billion year history of life on Earth, and it seems that humans are the first technologically capable civilization to emerge on the planet. Life in general, including most humans, seems to prefer staying true to specific lifestyles that they are biologically or societally inclined to follow, with the occasional innovation. All life we have encountered, with the exception of modern-day humans, seems not to require constant technological innovation. Even humans haven't for the vast majority of their history. Innovation was quite slow during the roughly 200,000 years between the dawn of modern Homo sapiens and the first human use of agriculture. If we assume that other inhabited worlds follow similar principles to Earth, we can assume that intelligent, and specifically technological life, is actually very rare in the universe. Not so rare, I should point out, that we are the only ones in the universe, or even our galaxy, but probably not something you will find on anywhere close to all planets with life. Perhaps there is a certain amount of time that life needs to evolve before technological life appears, so only planets far older than Earth would tend to have spawned some. So, what should we do if we come across a planet covered in life, but with no technological life? Should we study the life in the interest of science? As long as no harm is brought upon the life, this would be a good idea. Like I said earlier, we definitely shouldn't colonize the planet so we don't ruin the planet's natural environment and drain it of its resources. But there might be another option. What if, gradually, we uplifted, so to speak, the life forms on such a planet, just like we could do with non-human life from Earth? We could give them greater intelligence and, indeed, technological capacity. Now, this would be interfering deeply with the planet's natural environment, but it would be improving it, so this would be a good thing. The living beings would be happier with a greater understanding of the universe and with more advanced technology and social structures. Of course, we would have to be very careful that we actually improve the life of these beings instead of claiming to be helping them with superior institutions while actually bringing great harm to them. This is something which has happened many times throughout human history. Think back to the age of imperialism, where the ones doing the harm didn't even have more beneficial social structures. However, I think that with the power of superintelligence, artificial or in a pro-evolved biological form that technology could and almost certainly will bring us, we could figure out ways to genuinely and harmlessly increase the intellectual capacity of all life, starting with beings more similar to us and perhaps one day working our way over to beings like plants or fungi. Who knows? It very well could not only be possible, but already have been done before by other species. As our Earth-derived civilization spreads outward across the arms of our galaxy, and eventually beyond into the greater universe, we will likely colonize millions, or even billions, of star systems. We might terraform planets, build colonies, or even construct Dyson spheres around many of the stars and systems we colonize. We might even uplift worlds which already have life, encouraging the development of spacefaring civilizations as we expand outward ourselves. If they are out there, however, and they almost certainly are, we will at some point encounter another developed spacefaring civilization. Now, since we, at this point, have no idea what even primitive life on other planets is like, the specifics of any encounter with a spacefaring alien civilization lie in the realm of speculation. I find it unlikely, though, that any species so advanced, which has made it so far societally and technologically, would be inclined toward violence. If they were, we could quite possibly be forced into a massive interstellar war. Otherwise, we would likely form communication with them and share our technologies and cultures. We would even, hopefully, merge political systems, whatever that would mean at that point. From an alien civilization, which could have been around for millions of years for all the universe is concerned, we could learn how to use extremely advanced technologies, and also learn whether the aliens know of any other civilizations. Maybe they would even invite us to join some sort of pan-galactic civilization. After uniting politically, or at least forming some kind of alliance with an alien civilization, or several, it is likely that this new, larger civilization would expand farther outward into space. It would likely have faster-than-light travel, if such a thing is possible. It very well may be, using technologies like Alcubierre drives, which are literally warp drives, or by creating and traveling through wormholes. Look those concepts up, they're quite fascinating to think about. Even if, however, we are forever confined at traveling even half the speed of light, we should be able to colonize millions of galaxies. The universe will be around for more than long enough. So at this point in history, we would continue to expand outward throughout the universe, and more than likely unite with other alien civilizations and possibly with huge unions of them. There would almost certainly be ones out there which would have been around far longer than our own, considering that the universe was around for almost 14 billion years before humans came into existence. In a best-case scenario, where all goes well, and provided faster-than-light travel is possible so we can outrun the universe's expansion, our current Earth-based civilization could eventually, far in the future, become part of a union of civilizations which has colonized virtually the entire universe. That is a mind-blowing thought, but it is possible in theory. It seems like such a civilization would be invincible. The thing is, the universe will eventually psych us out by having all of its stars die. Yes, it's true. The stars won't last forever. Our universe is about 13.8 billion years old. Main sequence stars like our Sun generally live about 10 billion years. The smallest red dwarf stars might live to be up to 10 trillion years old. After they burn out and die, the dead husks of all the universe's stars will eventually combine into black holes, which will eventually become the only large objects left in the universe. If our pan-universal civilization still gets its energy from stars via Dyson Spheres by the time this transformation is underway, it would, quite simply, be screwed, unless it could find another power source. Now we have a long time to think of one, as it will probably be 100 trillion years or so before the universe is devoid of everything besides black holes, white dwarf stars, and neutron stars. We could draw energy from the last two for a while if we manage to keep our technology intact. I see ourselves definitely either escaping the universe itself or dying out by this point, but you never know. There are still options for survival here. Now say we do manage to leave the universe. We don't know what is outside of the universe, or even if an outside exists. Perhaps saying that something exists outside of space is simply an oxymoron, something contradictory that is impossible by definition. However, there are many theories about what could lie outside of the universe. Perhaps the most common one is the multiverse theory, which states that all possible universes exist, and perhaps an infinite amount of each. If we can exit the universe and enter the multiverse, we could find universes with plenty of new stars and colonize those. We could even find universes very similar to ours in the distant past and uplift the life there. Some universes we would find could contain constructs and physical laws that we can't even conceive of now, and which lack comparison in our original universe. Now, getting out of our universe would likely require some sort of an ability to warp space and travel through different dimensions, but if we can travel faster than light, then there is a good chance that this is possible. One day, perhaps, we will colonize the entire multiverse, Or, if it is infinite, we will constantly be expanding outward into it, never to run out of resources. We might even be able to create universes at will, or utilize some loophole in the laws of the multiverse to colonize an infinite number of universes simultaneously. Maybe there are further levels of reality beyond the multiverse. At this point, our knowledge and even our theories become blurry. This here is quite possibly the best end state of civilization. We find a way to exit the universe, perhaps becoming free from the constraints of time itself, and have an infinite number of universes at our disposal. What would society look like if we made it this far technologically? If we followed the trend of unifying and becoming more intelligent and connected, perhaps one day all living beings in a civilization will merge into a single collective superconsciousness. They would retain all of the memories of their individual selves, while having no barriers of thought between one another. This may sound crazy, but if we look at current trends and think about where they eventually will lead, this is more than likely. It could very well happen far earlier than you might think, such as in the early interstellar age. Perfect, absolute empathy would exist between all beings, and there would be no need for laws or government. On another note, what if there isn't a way to exit the universe? Or there is, and we never find it? How long could we survive in the universe? Neutron stars and white dwarfs will be around for a very long time, and they give off some energy, which a civilization could use by capturing it with a Dyson swarm-like construct. However, what happens when those are gone? By the year 1 Google, or 10 to the power of 100, black holes will be the only remaining objects in the cosmos. One might think that black holes only take in matter and energy, while giving off nothing. However, Stephen Hawking discovered that black holes very slowly evaporate by giving off what is called Hawking radiation. Believe it or not, an advanced civilization which used very little power could, in theory, live off of this energy. This is called black hole farming. They would likely have to upload themselves to very small, extremely energy-efficient computers rather than existing in physical reality, but it could happen. Eventually, though, all black holes will evaporate completely and disappear. The universe will have expanded to an unimaginably huge size, but will be completely empty except for subatomic particles, spaced out at astronomical distances. Would this be the end? Perhaps. Then again, perhaps not. Energy cannot be destroyed, so maybe our civilization will figure out a way to store it somewhere, and live on in the darkness of the cosmic void.